My great-grandfather was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer at the ripe old age of 105. At 106, it was safe to say that his story was about to come to a close. I was grief-stricken, even before his passing. I had always had a special relationship with the man. He was like a third parent to me at times. I wasn't ready to lose him, but nothing could prepare me for the stories that he'd recount before I did. "Pops, is there anything I can get for you before I go? Just say the word and it's yours." And Pappy smirked slyly. "Anything. I'll take a pack of Marlboro Reds, if you'll be so kind." We all chuckled. "Very funny. And that's what landed you here in the first place. Sandra and I are running home for a quick shower and a bite to eat. We'll be back before you know it," my grandfather said as he patted me on the back. Pappy shot them a thumbs up and they shuffled out the door. I scooted closer to the hospital bed. He flashed me an adoring grin. "So, Pappy, I have a project for one of my college courses, and I remember you mentioning that you said you fought in World War II. I was hoping that you might be able to fill me in on what the war was actually like, instead of what I see on TV. Feel free to say no, though." I watched as the perpetual shimmer in his eyes was snuffed out. His face sank and he averted his gaze to his bedsheets. A pang of guilt bludgeoned my chest like a sledgehammer. I hadn't expected that reaction. My great-grandfather glanced up at me, tears threatening to spill down his cheeks. "Pappy, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." "No, it's high time I admit to someone what really happened all those years ago. I've been a coward for bottling this up for so long. I'll tell you, Cam, but only to get this off my chest. Be forewarned, the stories that I'm going to share with you, it'll completely change your perspective of me. If you don't want that, now is the time to say so." I remained silent, weighing his words. What did he mean by that? I had idolized that man. Whatever he had to say wouldn't sway my standpoint on that. Right? "I understand." "Okay, but don't say I didn't warn you." I nodded. "Do you remember when I told you that I immigrated to the United States from Poland once the fighting was all over?" I shook my head in acknowledgement. "That was a lie. I served in the German army as an SS officer in the Third Reich. Do you understand what that means?" "So, you were a Nazi?" "Yes, I have many regrets in my life, but this is the greatest." My jaw fell to the floor. His thoughts must have been jumbled. Surely he wasn't thinking straight. My head spun as I struggled to comprehend his words. But you can't be. You're one of the most genuine, caring people that I've ever met." "Lift up the blanket over my left foot. Tell me what you see." I reluctantly obeyed his command, peeking under the covers. A faded symbol was tattooed on the top of his foot. "That's right. The infamous emblem of Hitler's tyranny. Do you believe me now?" "Yes," I squeaked, timidly returning to my seat. He erupted into a coughing fit, his chest rattling violently before he laboriously regained his composure. "Cameron, I don't have much time left. Are you sure you want me to continue?" I mulled it over briefly. My curiosity had won out. I had to know. "Yes, I'm sure." And Pappy sighed. "All right. When I was 21, I had joined the German militia. I graduated from college a couple years into the war, and due to that and my unrelenting ambition, I quickly rose through the ranks. Toward the end of the war, I was stationed at Auschwitz. You have heard of that, yes? I gulped, a dry lump trundling down my throat. I have. Then you know of the atrocities committed there. I am no innocent man, Cameron. I wish I could tell you that I tried to put a stop to it, or at least that I did not participate, but alas, I cannot. A tear trickled down my cheek. Happy, you don't have to go on. I know this is hard to. No. After all these years, all these horrible and silent years, I need to confess. I want a clear conscience before I pass to the other side. I solemnly nodded. Once I had arrived at the camp, I was assigned to the gas chambers. When those that the government deemed impure were shipped in, I was in charge of sending them to their fate. I would order them to strip down to nothing and force them into those cramped death traps. We told them they were going to take a shower, that they would be just fine once they had rinsed off. Lies, all of it. I am personally responsible for the deaths of thousands of men, women, and children. So many children. He broke down and wept, fat tears staining his light blue hospital gown. I waited patiently for him to resume. They didn't deserve to die, just as I don't deserve to live. Worse were those who survived the death chambers, the ones considered eligible to work. We shaved their heads and did horrible things. We broke their spirits, and for what? Because of their religious beliefs. Who were we to play God? But at that moment we were brainwashed. Sheep led to believe that what we were doing was right. Our actions were justified in the eyes of Germany, so it couldn't be wrong. At least that's how we viewed it. He was rocked by another intense coughing fit. I was glad for it. I needed a break. I began to dread every word that slipped from his mouth. He locked eyes with me, years of shameful remorse surfacing behind his pupils. The things I did are unforgivable. If a man spoke out of line, I would cut out his tongue. If he shot me a dirty glance, I would gouge out his eyes. God forbid if he tried to fight, if he clawed me, I would tear his fingernails off one by one and shove them down his throat. If he bit me, I would pluck out his teeth and force him to swallow every last one. And if he punched me, I would break his fingers before taking his entire arm. I remember one resilient old man who wouldn't give up. He hit me until I took his arms, and then he kicked me until I took his legs, and then he bit me and scowled at me and shouted obscenities. Once there was nothing left to take, he spat on me. So what did I do? I threw him to the dogs. I watched as those vile beasts ripped him to shreds, stripping every last morsel of flesh from his body. And do you know what the worst part was? I hesitantly shook my head. I enjoyed it. I took pleasure in the suffering of others. I relished showing up to work every day armed with the knowledge that I was going to inflict agonizing, irreparable disfigurement upon some poor, undeserving man. All the pain, I reveled in it, and for that I will pay with my soul. I can't change the past. I've worked every day attempting in vain to clean my slate, but it's marked in blood. No matter how much I scrub, it'll never wash away. I'm sorry for laying all of this on you. You shouldn't have to bear this burden, but after all this time, I needed to tell someone. And there's no one I feel more comfortable confiding in than you. I sat there shell-shocked. My heart thumped in my ears and my head buzzed like 1,000 invisible hornets swarmed within. My role model was a monster. I couldn't look him in the eyes anymore, not after discovering what he had done. I shakily stood. I need a minute. My great-grandfather gazed up at me, defeated and overcome with sorrow. I understand, Cameron. I love you. I stared past him into a curtain-shrouded window. I could only bring myself to nod as I walked out the door. My great-grandfather passed away 9 hours later. After revealing his sins, there was nothing holding him back from leaving this world. As the rest of my family grieves, I just feel numb. I'm still having trouble processing it all. I'm conflicted. I want so badly to tell someone, I mean anyone, but I can't do that to my family. I don't want to tarnish their memories with them, so I'm relaying this here in a fruitless attempt to gain a little mental clarity. In the end, I just hope that I can put this behind me and that I'll never be on the receiving end of such a gruesome confession ever again.